Hello, and welcome again to Unbottleneck, the podcast where we help solve common marketing problems. We have the honor, the privilege to have an amazing digital marketer with us today, Sujan Patel, who is the managing partner at Ramp Ventures, which are the makers of Mailshake, Voila Norbert, Right Inbox. We didn't screw up the names on some of these, and more sales and marketing SaaS companies. That's software as a service companies. He has a data-driven marketing approach, and he is an entrepreneur. Sujan is a high-energy individual fueled by his passion to help people and solve problems. He's been focused on the outreach platform Mailshake, which he co-founded, and I guess we could start there. Sujan, tell us a little bit more about Mailshake and about yourself.
Yeah, so Mailshake is a sales engagement kind of email outreach platform. Pretty much, I started the company in 2015, really to scratch my own itch, right? So I've been on the agency world marketing side for quite some time, and then
I'm sorry.
built it. Yeah, right. And I was crazy enough to do two agencies, right? So I built one. I'm like, yeah. I was like, I'm never doing this again. 2 years later, I was like,
Yep.
maybe consulting doesn't sound so bad, just one or two clients, and then like next thing you know, it was like full blown international agency, and that was a great idea until burnout number two happened with that. But anyways, the Mailshake came in because we were doing my whole life. I've done so much outreach, whether it's email, phone, whatever, right?
I just I got some of those emails.
Yeah, I mean, you probably still get some. Now it's more my team doing the outreach and whatnot. But I mean, we've sent like millions of emails over the last like 15 years or so,
Right.
and so I never found a good platform. At the time we started in 2015, there were companies like Yesware were sitting inside the inbox, and the UX is kind of clunky, or like Streak, I think, was out there. And I just didn't find any good tools that like really solved what I was trying to do and automate it in a fashion where it's successful, like it's personalized, it comes off personalized, but it's somewhat templatized and then repeatable, right? So that's kind of where Mailshake came into play. By the time we launched, there was a lot of tools out there. I think a lot being like 10 or 15, and at that time I was like, wow, that's a lot of competitors. Now there's like 86 competitors in the space.
Yeah.
86 players. We're one of 86. Our real big differentiating factor is that our usability, our ease of use, like you're just gonna get in there. You don't really need any training. You just go, right? And
made for marketers, not developers.
yeah, and I think marketing, sales, and recruiters are the most common use cases. And sales would be like they're doing outbound sales, similar to like outreach for link building or partnerships, PR. Recruiters, same thing. It's kind of all the same use case. It's all kind of similar workflow, although the use case, the end result is different, right? Maybe it's a demo, maybe it's you don't ever get on a call, maybe it's a partnership call, it's a PR interview request or what have you. Really trying to personalize and automate at scale. Personalize, and automate, but to seem like it's individualized, right? And I say that we can dig into that a little bit, but yeah, I think that a big thing is like really, keep things simple. We're really more of a no frills, and we intentionally choose things not to include in the platform, with our end goal being making our customers, making people doing outreach successful, right?
Focus on what we're good at. Yeah, I love it.
Well, also help people what they're bad at, right? Like it's safe to say that people aren't natural born copywriters. And so naturally people's emails seem to be too long. They kind of run on. They're not copywriters. And so turns out the biggest churn reason for Mailshake and our competitors as well is that people don't get results. And why don't they get results? Okay, it's their product or service, which, okay, can't help you with that. You can't help you with your business. That was on you. The reason behind the second to that is the copy. It's too long. It's ineffective. And so that's where we spend a lot of time. We have a kind of a whole, I'd say half our team is developers. The other, like 1/3 of our team are folks either creating content, doing webinars, helping customers essentially figure out what to put in their emails, figure out the right cadence and whatnot.
That's amazing. You can't get that in a Mailchimp or a Constant Contact. That just doesn't exist.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and honestly, that's kind of like that's our differentiator, right? It's like we actually give a crap,
Mm,
and we want you to be successful. I mean, our customer success selfishly keeps them around longer, which
right.
is good, but also it's like we want to contribute to the good emails in the world, not the bad ones.
Right. Oh, yeah, the spam and
Yeah.
unsolicited stuff, right? It sounds like your platform is really perfect for really any small to mid-sized business that doesn't have, a ton of resources to do email marketing, but they know they need to. So they can get in, they can, set up their customer list and uh, walk through, I'm guessing some sort of a simple wizard to be able to send and set up email without having to do any HTML or without having to do any kind of coding or database tagging or anything like that, right?
Absolutely, yeah. I think that we don't even want people to put too many links in their emails. We don't have It's like plain text is the way to go. You're not going to get the branding you need, but that's okay. That's not the point of the email. If you get a heavily branded email, you're likely not reaching as wide of an audience. Um, and if you want a marketing branded email, I think that's more for your like email marketing software to do.
Yeah.
Um, we're more on the email is actually in our open rates are significantly higher than most of our competitors or most email platforms
Okay.
because the email actually comes from the individual. So like it would be coming from my personal email address, and not like an email server. That
Gotcha.
right there makes the open rate and the actual like deliverability like 2-3x more effective.
It's amazing. What are some fun case studies recently that you've had where you're just like, now I know why we did this. This is incredible. This worked exactly how we were supposed to. Was there one kind of moment that you've had recently through a customer or even with the internal team that was kind of a high five to all the stakeholders?
Yeah, I mean, I think we like to eat our own dog food, right? We like to play with, utilize the tool and software however we can for ourselves. And so, I think like every few weeks, every few months, we find a new way to like leverage our software.
Mhm.
It's hilarious. Like, whereas, yes, figured this. Like, there's another way to do this. So here's a quick one. Mailshake's website. We have like demo requests, right? You can request a demo. You can sign up and we don't have a free trial. We have you just buy it, and we have a 30-day money back guarantee. We did a lot of testing. We're marketers, right? So like we
Yeah.
tested it, works better. So like, okay, let's do that. But along the way, we get a lot of drop off when people don't purchase, right? It's a two step sign up. So first step is you get your information, like your name, email, company, blah blah blah, like what you're using it for, and then the second step is actually purchasing. Put your credit card in, choose a plan, seats, what have you, right? So
Yeah.
naturally, there's a drop off between step one and step two in completion, um, and so pretty much anyone who abandoned the sign up, they get an automated flow, like an email, right? And that is sent from Mailshake, right? So something happens, it goes from our form, it goes into we use Pipedrive for our CRM. It
Okay.
gets piped into Pipedrive. If it doesn't make it to the like mark as complete, which are when someone purchases,
Hmm.
that lead will be moved as like one. If it doesn't get marked as one, it goes into this abandoned flow trial sequence, and then we integrate with Pipedrive and it goes out. We have a cadence that's about, I think, 3 to 4 emails.
Okay.
And it's different, I believe, based off of what you're using Mailshake for. So if you say marketing, you get some marketing emails, right? If you get, I mean, marketing messages, case studies will be sent, what have you. And so, yeah, it's just like simple funnel.
And,
And we
and
get
any
like,
business can do the same thing. They can follow along
yeah,
and use. It's awesome. I think
absolutely. I mean,
it's so
here's the biggest
valuable to
thing
have
though.
that in the mix for sure.
Exactly. And the biggest thing here is like, most people just don't spend the time to follow up, right? Like
Mhm.
someone signs up and you just don't do anything with it, right? Like so it's like a missed opportunity. And this it's not a big number, but fully automated, without sales touch at all, it's
Mhm.
about we get around 30 to 40 new customers coming in from that a month.
Yeah.
And then when we add in the sales folks, it's about somewhere between 50 to 60. So it's sent out from a sales rep. Um, and but people just convert. But when they actually engage in a conversation, you get a little bit more conversion. So,
That makes sense.
um, salesperson's like, hey, look, you're doing my job for me. Cool. I'll just check my inbox.
Nice. So I'm teaching a landscape class right now at Cal State Fullerton for the digital marketing landscape, and it goes through all the different mediums. Like I have a whole week where we go on inbound marketing, where we talk about search and social, and then we get into paid advertising. And when we're talking about the buyer journey, and we're talking about marketing automation, it's like we always seem to look at the upper funnel, maybe the consideration phase, and then the buyer phase. But a lot of times, digital marketing stops there. But there's so much more. There's upsell, right? You can go back and try to upsell your customer on something else, cross
Mm-hmm.
sell, and then there's the loyalty part and retention. And I think you're right. I think those two pieces get missed. Hey, we got the customer, we're done. Let's go get more customers. Well, wait,
Mm-hmm.
you still have to nurture the customer who just came in. I love when I make a purchase and like a few hours later I get a thank you email from the CEO. I know it's automated, but it's still a thank you email from the CEO, and it sounds personalized because it has my name on it and tells me what I purchased and how they appreciate our business. That means so much, and I open, like you said, there's a high open rate. I open those emails all the time because I just purchased. Of course, I want to know, what they're telling me now. So
Mm-hmm.
I think you made a good point from a digital marketer's standpoint as you're thinking about email and customer emailing customers. I think it's not just for sales; it's for client retention. It's for building brand loyalty and trust, and just a simple thank you email after a purchase that goes beyond just the receipt. I think has a lot of value to customers. I think you got a really good point there. And as we're talking about that, one of the questions that we came up with aligns with that same idea. And as we get into outreach and sending emails, copywriting and so forth, can you walk us through how you've come to define and understand that whole customer prospecting process, and where does a business owner start with that?
Yeah, so I think it's first and foremost trying to find, in terms of prospecting, how do you identify like who is the right customer? I think it's about understanding who is your best customer, right? So figure out who your best customer is. Are you, let's say, you got your agency, you do trainings, you do all sorts of service related things around the SEO world.
Sure.
Who is your best one? Is it like, I'm going to make it up. It, it's it's design agencies who then do design and they bring you in to do the SEO. Let's just say that is your best customer.
Okay.
Well, or your highest paying, the highest value. They love you. Those are the ones that like send you the best Christmas cards, right? Or the most leads. Well, now you know to go after design agencies, right? So you can use many tools, but really it's thinking through your business and figuring out like who are your best customers. Now, if you're new to your business, it's making assumptions. Who is going to get the most value from your business? Who can you start with? So sometimes it's not your best customers. Who is the what's like a good starting point? Where do I have the least competition, right? Um, we have a marketing agency as well, that I'm not really in the day to day of, but our best customers are SaaS businesses, and specifically SaaS businesses that are somewhere between $1 to $5 million in annual revenue. Like, so I don't do, we don't do anything else besides go after those folks when we do outbound, right? And there's then we go break it down even further. People, SaaS businesses 1 to 5 million who just hired their first marketing person.
Okay.
Why? Because they expect their first marketing person to do everything, and they generally either have to build a team or hire an outside team. And so we hope that they go with us. We can ramp up quickly and blah blah blah. We have our own little pitch there, but that's
Mhm.
what we do. We go after that buyer. So I've said the best customer is X type of business,
Mhm.
um, at this revenue rate, hiring their first marketer, and our persona is that marketer, and so we have to create content and everything around that and figure out the pain points of that. So again, if you don't really know, um, take a couple stabs at it. HubSpot has this really good, just like persona template.
Mhm.
I'd recommend using something like that, or even just saying like, yeah, it's a great one. I mean, I think it's a good, like, if you haven't done it before, do that,
Mhm.
and just make 4 or 5 different types of personas, and then this is the hard part, and you have to do this. What's the one line? What's the one thing you are going to use to, like, what's the why that, like, this is a great customer? Like, we are good for this marketing manager at a $1 million SaaS company because we can scale. They're hired to scale their marketing efforts, and we can help them scale the fastest because we've already got the team, and that's the pitch. What's that? It's pretty much that is helping us craft the pitch. Obviously, when you find the prospect, there's more to that. We can talk about that as well. But it kind of, right when it comes down
Yeah,
to, like,
once you find them, I think in many industries it's a free assessment or free sort of review of or performance review of what you're currently doing. Hey, even if you don't decide to work with us, at least knowing where the gaps are gives you a head start. Educating a client before they hire you to build trust seems to be a really good um, segue into hopefully building a relationship.
yeah, absolutely. And I think, like, we try to figure out, like, help them map out like a one-page strategy. So, like, we call it, like, I mean, I've been doing marketing for such a long time. I call it the napkin
Okay.
marketing plan, right? Like, literally, like, this is like what I would jot down if I'm meeting with the CEO and I'm interviewing for the job. Like, before I take a job as a VP of marketing or run the marketing thing, I kind of have to have in my head, like, what the heck am I going to kind of do for this, right? And I have to validate it and blah blah blah. So, like, as an agency, we just help that marketer do it, and, like, it's like, hey, like, you don't have to hire us, just, like, let's just go through this exercise together, and then you do it however you want to do it, right? And we might be able to help you here, here, and here. Um, but yeah, so again, that's our pitch. Um, doesn't mean that has to be the same pitch, but the point is, where it's then taking, where can you add value, right? Then I craft a subject line from that. I write the copy of the email, and the cadence of how many times I follow up. And I find the high level, like, overview is that one third of your leads are going to come from your very first email.
Okay.
One third are going to come from maybe emails to the emails that you send in the first months, maybe like 2 to 5, depending on how aggressive you go. And the last third is going to come from the long tail.
Hmm. Are you still there? I think I lost your
Yeah.
audio. Oh,
No, I sneezed. So I
hang on.
sneezed there.
No
Okay.
worries.
So yeah, but anyways,
So what's the long tail?
the long tail is really about, like, the follow up that happens after month one,
Okay.
but maybe to year two, right? Um, and you'd be surprised how many people just stop and give up, right? Um, I I'm not a salesperson by trade,
Hmm.
but what I've learned when I brought on my first agency, Single Grain, we
Remember.
doubled our revenue and doubled our close rate by one thing: following up until we get a no, right? Not until we get a yes. The yes is easy, right? Okay, you're done. Like, you get the email back, cool, I want to work with you, awesome. But until you get the no, because 90% of leads just don't ever get back to you. They don't ever tell you no. So my
Correct.
business partner just said, like, just relentlessly followed up until he got a no.
Yep.
And what that meant was, when when 90% of people were going to tell us no, that just ridiculous. I mean, or not get back to us, which was inevitably, which turns out to be a no if they don't say yes. Is that of those 90%, he was able to close 10 or 15% more of them, right?
And that
Um,
for a SaaS company like that could be a lot of revenue. So it's totally worth the call
exactly.
for sure.
So just following up, and we have a customer. I just did a case study the other day with one of our customers who's a magician, and
Really?
magician out of everything, right? He uses Mailshake to drive leads to his business, and like, he does various shows, corporate events, and whatnot.
Sure.
And yeah, and he was saying, he's like, okay, it's bad timing now. They just, they're not the
Yeah,
HR
there's no
person.
shows going on right now. Yeah.
Yeah, well, he does it. What's even crazier, he does it all virtually. So, like, even harder sell. Surprisingly, he does really well for himself. He's booked out like 3, 4 months in advance, but a lot of times it's just bad timing. And
Yeah.
so that bad timing moment, he just follows up like, "Hey, when should I follow up?" And then he stopped asking that question because he just assumed things. He's like, people make budgets every year, so that there's annual budget. So, like, if someone doesn't get back to me now, I'm sending an email all the way out to like 13 months from now,
Mm-hmm.
because they might have 11 months from now and 13 months, because like
Yep.
they might be in the budget planning in 11 months and they might be like have budget 13 months from now, right? So it's just like thinking about the longer term thing. And here's the last part of this. I'll talk about this cadence side of things is,
Yeah.
or the and follow up is that um, you always have to. It's really hard. You always have to focus on adding value, right? Um, and the value is like not this. Hey, I just want to follow up to see if you've had a chance to think about this. That is a stupid question.
Right.
Because when you say, I want to follow up, that is exactly what your actions are doing. That's your email, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you get to the point.
It's redundant.
It's redundant and it's a little annoying, right? Because you get everybody does this. So just follow up with like, hey, I was thinking about a conversation a few months ago. Like I was thinking about your company and I read an article that like I think you might find useful. Okay, even if that's a complete lie and BS, if you send somebody an article that might be helpful,
Mm-hmm.
um, there's a good chance they're more likely to read it, right? Okay, if they don't open that email out, maybe another article, maybe a podcast, maybe it's like this is a great example. You're doing a podcast. You have a very interesting topic, right? Unbottleneck.
Yeah.
Okay, well maybe this is a part of your follow up, right? So like it's where sales and marketing converge, where you can create you could send your best content out there or the most relevant or what have you. So using that like agency example, 1 to 5 million ARR SaaS businesses targeting their first marketing hire. Okay, 6 months in, they probably messed up something, right? So maybe I email them after like 3 or 4 months of me reaching out to them, and that might be where they're in a little bit more than a quarter into their stay at that company. Like,
Right.
hey, just quick question. Like, it's okay. Everybody messes up. I remember my first mess up at a SaaS company. What did you have any mistakes you made? I'd love to just hear about it. No,
Yeah.
don't
Yeah.
worry. This
And
isn't
it's a
going anywhere.
relationship starter, conversation starter, not a sales pitch. Yeah.
Exactly. And yeah, and again, like here's the thing. There's the thing I just mentioned about like mess ups or like budget planning. Are you planning for 2022? These are all things you can predefine in an automated sequence, right? um, is it genuine? Yes, because you did the work to understand the persona, the prospect, and say these are pain points they have. You did the work to find the article, or content, or write the article in some cases. You just automated it, right? You did the work up front, so you don't have to do it on the fly, right? So yeah, this is kind of how our sales team and our agency sales team just like wakes up to leads every morning. Now it's not a whole lot because turns out the TAM for this size business is like
Yes.
it's a very specific size companies that work, so a little small, but yeah, that's kind of the approach. And
And as I say, when you get into some of that actual copywriting, you have an approach, right, to this email copy. I was actually reading some stuff off of some of your content, and it's actually really genius when you get into it. You've got like it's going from the subject line to the opener. Do you want to talk through kind of that copywriting approach and what's been
sure.
effective?
Sure. So I think I break it down into like 3 or 4 pieces.
Hmm.
One is the subject line, super short, clear. Let's just put it this way:
And it
focus
doesn't
on
say
being
I'm just following up in the subject line.
no, or anything related to like about me.
Yeah.
Super short, right? 5 words or less. I've done this at Mailshake. We send, I don't know, 100 million plus emails. We've sent over 100 million emails in the last 5 years,
Crazy.
um, and that are trackable and whatnot. And though, like things that have less than 5 words just got a significantly higher open rate. And then it gets better with less words. So like less words, better, right? Um, if you can figure out a way to make it a question or personalize it, even better. I'm not going to go into like how exactly to do that. You can even do things like quick question. Yes, it's been used to death, but it still works, right? So if don't you want to be not so generic, say quick question about insert whatever, right?
Sure.
Like that relevant topic to whatever that person is.
I hate getting
Oh,
the RE emails because I feel like crap. Did I not respond to somebody or something? I don't
yeah.
remember rates, and then I'm like, you sucker me into opening it, and I haven't even heard from you before.
The forward, fake intro, like emails, all of that, they work. They work really well to get you to open the email. But
Right.
as soon as you've opened the email, you completely lost the trust of the person you're emailing because you lied to them.
Yep.
And lying to start a relationship, especially if you're selling services, is ridiculously. It's just like, how are you planning to close this deal now? That you shot yourself in the foot. So,
I think
anyways,
they must be just counting on bulk rates. Like, hey, if we send 1 million of these, we know we're going to get high open rates. Someone's going to actually read it, and we'll get some customers. And it's just like, but
yeah,
you just burned like most of that list, you know?
exactly.
And
You just kind of lie. Nothing good happens when you lie to them. You're just
yeah,
calling your way out of it. You might get the people who appreciate the hustle or the people who have been misled, and not knowing it. But again,
mhm,
like it's 2021. People know a fake intro email, right? These
yep,
tactics don't last forever, right? That's the thing, is you hear about them, you read about them all the time. By the time you read about this amazing tactic, chances are it's probably not going to work anymore.
yeah.
So this approach here is short subject line. Now
Five
let's talk about
words or less.
like 5 words or less,
Mhm.
and a bonus points if it can be a question, and less words the better. Um, the now it's
Title
about the
case or sentence case?
um, either one.
Okay.
Um, it doesn't. It. I haven't found a with 5 words. It's kind of hard to like test this. I haven't found a significant difference in either one.
I know what your
I
next
found
A/B test is going to be.
yeah, no, I mean our open rates are good, right? I think that
Yeah.
open rates are generally good. That doesn't necessarily mean you've got interest, right? So this is kind of why I want to get into like the body. Now, I'm going to break it into 3 parts. You've got your intro, like one sentence, and so email copy needs to be super short, scannable.
Yeah.
The intro sentence, you've got like less than 1 second of someone's time. All right.
That's
Um,
worse than a web page, right? Gary Isles said, what, 2 seconds? You have 2 seconds to get their attention. So an email, you have
exact.
less than a
You
second.
have less than a second. And most of this can be assessed. Remember, the intro sentence, the first sentence actually can be seen before you open it in your
Right.
inbox.
Yeah, previewed.
So in the preview pane, right? So oftentimes that's the 1 second you're getting and not getting. But the first sentence you can do is use that to get 5 more seconds, right?
Okay.
That's all they're doing. If you can get that, then great. If you cannot, then you have lost that deal, right? Then you are relying then on your only on your follow up emails to kind of get the attention. So keep it short. Don't start with "Hi, my name is blah blah blah." Don't even talk about yourself. Use your email signature for
Them.
all the things you want to talk about yourself. You want to brag. This is your email signature is your social proof. Leave it at that. Because guess what? I know you're Steve. Your
Mhm.
name says Steve in the name of the sender, right? So I don't you don't need to say, "Hi, I'm Steve of blah 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 blah." Like, just talk to me. Just start the conversation, right?
Right.
Um, and so
And you're saying
keep it,
questions work. So if you start your headline with a question, you could probably reiterate it in the first sentence in different words, right?
or like you could say you can you can continue the conversation, right? So like, question about your growth, like, are you dealing with any issues? Like, how many people are you hiring right now for your marketing team, right?
Right.
Isn't it a pain? Do you want to just get started right now? I'm just making stuff off the fly. Like, I don't we don't actually use this one, but like, continue the question, right?
Okay.
The shorter the better. The simpler that what you want them to do in their head is a mentally answer yes.
Yeah.
Yes, that is a pain point. What they're doing is confirming in their head emotionally to keep going.
Right.
Um,
Tim
and
Mack talked
so,
about that lately on one of the podcasts we did with him recently. He actually had mentioned it's more effective as opposed to just saying what your value proposition is or focusing on your value proposition, really hitting the user's psychological pain, right? Like, this must be really killing you. Like, you must be losing tons of money. Like, oh my God, like, yeah, you just like totally smacked me, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And again, like that's the goal. That might not be how it's received, but you want to over dramatize this subject, this first sentence, because um, you have that 1 second you're gonna get, right? And so like in the 1 second, you want to like be memorable, right? It's a headline of a Facebook ad. Really, it's a headline of a Facebook ad, not a Google ad, right? The Google ad is like, I know what I'm looking for this blah 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 solution. On the
Right.
Facebook ad, I'm scrolling through Facebook. Leave me alone, dude. I just want to see cute pictures of babies or whatever, right? Like um, whatever people do on Facebook these days, although there's images, like we're disrupting the flow. And that's okay. So make it bold. The next thing is how you can help them solve that question, right? So,
Yeah.
are you building out your team? We've got a team ready to like. We help blah 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 companies with growth, and we've got a team of blah blah and blah to go right now. You can get started in 30 days versus a typical hiring process and ramp up of 4 months, and you don't even know if the strategies are going to work. And so by 4 months, we'll have proved out whatever, right? So like again, like
Decision makers
identify,
won't read emails at all. Like they
yeah,
like for sure. I've gotten to that point now where I'm like in CEO mode when I'm going through email because I get so many of them. Like if you
yeah,
can't immediately solve a pain or a problem or an issue right away, it's just like delete, 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 delete. I don't have the time. So you're right. You
exactly,
to be like right on point. And I've actually responded to emails because they did have something I was looking for right away that would help me improve KPIs or something that I found to be helpful. Hey, are you still using older tools like Moz Local and Bright Local? There's this new thing you might be interested in, right? And you're like, whoa,
yeah,
something better than something I'm already using. They already know
yeah.
me. They know that I'm using an older platform or likely using an older platform, and they're showing me something new and innovative. Yeah, I'll check that out. You know,
Absolutely. And you can make it like they make an assumption that you're using it. Maybe you've got local SEO on your website
right?
and you've been doing it for a while. So I think those are like very easy to find technology. Like,
Hmm.
just when you're prospecting, you just got to include that information, right? So although that email may not have been at all personalized, it feels relevant, right? And that's the whole point, is to categorically personalize. And so um, I always personalize the first sentence of the email, and that's it.
Okay.
And the reason for that is that you don't need to get carried away with personalization. My emails are generally 3 to 4 sentences long, an intro, what I can do for that person, like what I
Mm.
do, and then a call to action. Let's jump on a call tomorrow. You're around at 3 p.m.
Right.
Now, the bigger the friction, the
And no
bigger the
open,
ask.
no yes or no's or whatever, right? You
Yeah,
always have to
talk
provide the
like
time.
speak like a human being, right? If I call you, Steve, let's just say we met somewhere and I called you up like, hey, you want to go grab beers in in 2 weeks on Thursday at whatever, and you might say no, but how about Friday, right?
Yep.
Um, but try to be specific. Now, if I said like, hey, do you want to take our families to Disneyland together for the first time, hanging out? You'd probably be like I don't know if I can pull that off, right? Like that's a bigger friction ask. Now you got to get more decision makers in there. So like think about the least friction you can ask, right? Or the less the friction, the more likely you're going to get that action.
Right.
And
Higher
what I
response.
try to do is say like, here's a specific time, and I try to make that a vague time. Like, hey, I'm free between like 3 to 5 tomorrow. And I don't want to say tomorrow sometimes because like I know they're not going to open it tomorrow. It might not be going out. I might say like towards the end of the week,
Sure.
right? Or like next week. Early next week is always kind of a good one because like you could set it on Monday and still be relevant next Monday.
Right.
Um, where tomorrow might be Saturday, sometimes. But anyways, or hey, like just like here you can use this calendar link to schedule, right? Like so give them a specific time and then give them like an easy opt out, opt in to like automate it, right? If I just said here's my calendly link, it
Hmm.
kind of comes off as like I'm too busy to like give a damn. Here's my link, dude, figure it
It's not
out, right?
personalized at all. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
totally not personalized. It's just like, hey, I'm desperate for business, and if you can click this link, then you can schedule a time with me, and I won't have to put any effort into this. You know.
yep, exactly. So and that's it, that's the email. That's it. Now in the subject line, I mean, in the signature, I've got my name, my company, I've got my accolades. Like we work with 20 of the top 50 blah blah blahs, right? Like, or we're like G2 crowd rated software, five
Or
stars,
you put a
2021 leader,
customer testimonial in there, right? Read
or
more.
customer testimonial, or like how many big client, like trusted by Microsoft, LinkedIn, and blah blah blah, right? Like, or like we're Google AdWords, Facebook I don't know, whatever, right? Like
Right.
just like social proof. That's your social proof. All of what I just described right here is actually um, I look at this as exactly above the fold web page copy, right?
Mhm.
You come to the site, headline, big bold question, promise, what have you, um, and that's the subject line or the opener. You've got the call to action. You've
Mhm.
got like why somebody should have the call to action, right? It used to
Without
be like,
any
hey, I've been
scrolling required, they see it all, like, right above the
exactly.
fold on mobile, because we know they're all on mobile devices now, right?
Exactly. And that's the other part is like the longer your email, again, like you could just assume almost more than half your emails are going to be read on on mobile. And so just write shorter emails. And it's hard. Don't get me wrong. Like writing short emails is really, really difficult. You need to take 4 or 5 pass throughs at this, right? But here's what I see most people, not just our customers, but everyone writing cold email or like anyone writing email in general, is that they just kind of take the lazy approach.
Mhm.
Like, hey, I've got a big list. I'm just gonna I'm just gonna write the email.
Yeah.
But no, like when you write headline copy or when you write web page copy, you look at that thing like 10 times over, right?
You look
You
at what the
you put it
competitors have,
you do your
I've seen
research.
clients do that, by the way. I've seen clients sign up for their competitors' newsletters just to
Mhm.
understand how they're communicating with their customers. I thought that was really
Absolutely.
fascinating. Yeah.
Absolutely. So you should be putting in that amount of time, that amount of effort, and or at least following that process where you maybe do 2, 3 rounds of revisions on the email. And the reason for this is whether your TAM or the prospect list is 100,000 or 1 million or 5,000,
Mhm.
like you don't want to waste it, right?
Look at
And
the lifetime value of a customer. If they opt out and don't see any more messages, that's hundreds of thousands of dollars over the years that you could be missing out on.
exactly. So that's really the approach there. Super short, very clear. Also use the language of your buyer. Again, these are like if you read Robert Cialdini's like books,
Okay.
this is like copywriting 101, right? It is not very
'Cause
complex.
I'm stuck in my SEO bubble, so a lot of this is totally new to me. So thanks for
Yeah, yeah, no worries. It's really funny. It's like we all kind of know this stuff, but when we try to apply it to X, something that might be not out of our comfort zone,
yeah.
we're like, oh, brain fart. I don't know what to do. What do I, how do I go about
Well,
this, right?
forget it, I'm just gonna wing it, right? And then yeah, you
Right.
screw up.
And we actually have a tool. So anyone like struggling with copywriting,
Mhm.
um, go to mailshake.com/email
Okay.
dash analyzer. It's a free tool. You write your copy and paste it, whatever.
Uh-huh.
You don't need to log in or anything, and it'll just tell you what's wrong with it.
Nice. Like, you have
Just
too
copy
many
whatever
links
you got.
or the copy's too long or yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
Stuff like, and it'll get like, so I've done hundreds and hundreds of calls where I help people one on one, maybe even thousands now with doing the webinars because we do one to many now
Right.
approach. And I've said the same 25 things over and over and over and over again. So we built a tool that pretty much looks out for 25 things and we adjust it over time. And, we kind of have a little bit of a weighted scale, like, don't say this word, right? Like, so some spam stuff, some obvious stuff, but like, it's a little
I
gentle
provide
reminder.
guest blogging services. Like, I already
Yeah,
have that filter set up. If that's in a sentence, it's like auto delete.
exactly right. So like, what's a different way? Let's work together, right? So I've got this. My email I've been using for like 5 years
Okay.
is co-marketing. Like my subject line for all my guest posts and link exchange emails, backlink, like requesting backlinks. The subject line is co-marketing.
Okay.
Why co-marketing? I don't know. No one uses. That's not a word. Like that's
It's
not as
collaborative. It's not
yeah.
requesting anything. It's saying, "Hey, I'll scratch your back if you scratch mine," kind of thing.
Right. And also it's vague enough to where like it's not guest post because sometimes we're like, hey, like, do you want to do a webinar together? Do you want to do a blah blah blah? It's like it's
Yeah.
vague. Now, one thing I didn't talk about here in writing emails and who you target and all that stuff that I want to make sure I mention is
Sure.
if you combine that with actually blogging and building a personal brand, that is where you are amplifying your success, right? So um, if you have a blog, first of all, you can include content that you write about
Hmm.
in the emails, right? Like in your follow email, hey, I just published an article that like I think probably I bet you're living this day to day. Like just check it out. I think point number 3 will be very helpful for you. It
Relevant.
doesn't
Yeah.
even matter. It
Totally.
doesn't even matter.
Yeah. We'll
It
resonate
doesn't
with
even matter what point 3 is, right? Who cares?
you.
Like just be specific, right? Um, but so you kind of come off across as an authority. And if you look at this like um, and like Gong is a great example of this. Their sales reps all have personal brands.
Okay.
HubSpot has done a great job of this too.
Yeah.
All their sales reps have personal brands. And first of all, most of them are not doing this work themselves. The
Mm.
marketing team is powering this. So when HubSpot reaches out to me, I think it's like somebody wanting to do some cool shit together, right? I'm like, oh, HubSpot, like it's this person who like I've been following on LinkedIn for a little bit, right? And you know what they do is they ping me, like they connect with me on LinkedIn, they like my stuff, they engage, don't say anything. 2-3 weeks later, then they like ping me, right?
Spam you.
And then they start to like they start the process. They start to like surround me. But by that time, it's not a cold email. It's actually a warm email. Like I'm
Mm.
like, oh, Justin seems familiar, right? Like
Yeah.
so that's my point. Is like if you don't have a personal
And it's
brand,
always super short too. Hey, how's it going?
yeah,
How's it
yeah,
going?
exactly.
Like, all right. Hey,
Conversational.
how are you?
Um, they talk like they're at a coffee shop meeting new people, right?
Yeah.
That's kind of how I like to do it. Like it's it's not quite the like you're sitting next to a random stranger on an airplane, you're gonna be stuck for a while.
Right.
Like it's not the single serving friend, but it's the like stranger you might see again,
Yeah.
right? At a coffee shop.
That's
Yeah.
awesome. So we went through a few questions that we kind of already put together because we wanted to pick your mind for some of the things that you've learned over the years. I mean, it sounds like you've been doing this. You incorporated and set up everything around 2015. So it's been what, 6 years just living and breathing in email world. Even though before that, I know you were grinding in all areas of digital marketing, and SEO is a big part of that as well. Um, what do we have when we think about like risks, right? What are some risks worth taking in terms of I know we talked about pain points, but what are some things that have paid off that you've seen as you're shooting emails out from from the system? What are some risks that you think businesses should take?
I mean, risks people should take are just go for the ask, go for the thing you're not sure you can get,
Okay.
right? Because all that will tell you is why not, why it won't work once you do it. If or it might work and great, awesome, you just generated revenue, you just did something.
Right.
So just don't like shy around the fact that you're a business trying to make money. Go for the ask, right? Let's be realistic. A marketing newsletter, you're subscribed to like Zappos getting coupons. You go to CVS, you get a 6,000 page receipt of
Oh my
coupons.
God, they're doing that where you're at now too. Jesus.
Oh man, I think single handedly they're crushing the Amazon rainforest. CVS alone,
So
especially because the coupons expire like in 3 days too.
yeah,
Anyways,
and we never
that's
use them.
another point.
We put them in our car like we're going to use them because it's like, oh, $3 off, but then we don't go back in 3 days. It's trash.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So it like let's not pretend like a business is not here to make money.
Right.
Businesses are here to make money, but it doesn't mean they can provide they can't add value while doing it, right? Doesn't mean making money doesn't have to be a bad thing. And so I think in your emails, go for the ask, go for a very direct ask.
Mm.
Don't like shy around it. So if you have a newsletter, ask your newsletter to do something every once in a while. Take an action, share something, do something for you, get people to respond. Because first of all, you don't want to come across as you're talking at somebody, but also like you want people to know like I'm
What do
not,
you
this
want?
is,
Why are you
yeah,
emailing me? What do you want? What is it you're trying to,
yeah.
just get to the
So
point? Yeah.
every once in a while, I ask for stuff, right? I promote my own stuff, and the reason for promoting stuff is also like, hey, I've, it's like I like the like Gary V, jab jab, right hook. It's like
Yeah.
give away content, give value, 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 value. Ask for something, right? Get something out there,
Yeah.
and so yeah, I think take those risks, right? Take that email that prospect you're not sure you can get. Um, and the worst thing you can get is a no. The best thing you can get is a yes. Somewhere, most likely in the middle, you'll get a no because of blah, and you'll be able to solve blah eventually, right?
Or even better, you'll provide so much value in what you're doing that they'll forward it to someone else. I've gotten that before. So and so forwarded me an email from your newsletter and thought this would be helpful for us, and so we'll get a lead that way simply because we provide a lot of value in the in the communication.
Absolutely, yeah. I try to like those leads. The first example I talked about with like the people signing up for Mailshake and abandoning the sign up.
Yep.
Some point in the 3 months we try to close them. They don't. If they don't sign up, they get into a newsletter.
Yeah.
And some point down the road, there's a percentage of them that actually convert later, right? Or they open our emails, and so I'm like, okay, I guess we're providing value here because they've opened our emails and they're reading, clicking on our content, and whatnot.
Yeah. That's interesting. And I think it's amazing how many businesses are so afraid to do anything because they just don't know where to start. And it sounds like your platform, it creates a way for businesses who are still sort of new to what to do to have sort of a walkthrough on it. Um, and I know one of the questions that we were going to talk about, I know we're kind of getting short on time, was like email open rates. And honestly, when I think about it, um, I know it varies. I know B2B email is like totally different from like B2C email. But if you were to talk about email open rates in general, what exactly does it calculate? What, in your opinion, what does an open rate mean for business when they're looking at their data?
Um, I think it's a good indicator of some interest. I look at reply rates more than anything else. So I think first and foremost, you have to be very careful about open rates. It's almost like Facebook's attribution.
Okay.
They're very sure Facebook had something to do with that conversion,
Mm,
but they're fairly loose about it, right? Like
yeah.
maybe it was a 90-day window, so like um, it's a good indicator of success. It's like, are you going north or south? Is it working or is it not? But it's not a like revenue attribution. It's not a this is working. I think reply click through rates, actual leads generated are the core.
Yeah, because
Um,
people just won't open email, regardless of how much they still like you and trust you, right? I get a ton of really helpful newsletters that I think one day when I get caught up, I'm gonna want to go into my archive and read, but I don't unsubscribe because I like the brand, I like what they do, and I'm sure there's some helpful content in the email, but I won't open it right away simply because I'm busy. So I think you're right, and a lot of folks, when they get an email, they might defer opening it. They might move it to a folder, and then on the weekend pull it open, or maybe they're on vacation and they want to read it and they'll pull it into a label or something and then open it later. So I think that makes a lot of sense because then it's not as much about the open rate than it is about how they're actually interacting with it for those who did open it. That makes sense.
exactly. And one of the things about open rate that's a little misleading these days is like there's a lot of spam, bots and crawling and antivirus things like
Yeah.
bots
Yep.
that open emails. So you could have a 90% open rate, but that's just because a bot opened email, not an actual human being. And
Just using
so
a plugin
we
or something. Yeah.
one of the things, yeah, exactly. One of the things we're actually implementing now that's going to be out there in the software, and again, like our software, I like to think it's the best, but I don't, it doesn't really matter what software you use. I think the whole point is like
Mm.
do set cadences and follow ups and make sure you're nurturing your leads
Yeah.
or and doing follow ups. But one of the things that we've got coming out here in the next few months is actually intent and temperature of email.
Interesting.
So if somebody opens your email, great. Okay, did they stay on for like a second or like a minute? Did they like open it 5 times? Right, that's a hot lead. If somebody opens your email like 5, 6 times, like that means you need to call them. Like you need to do, you need to follow up right now. You need like just
You know,
whatever you
knock
need to
on
do,
their door.
get them on.
You know, hey,
Right. Yeah.
it's
We'll
emails.
figure.
Times in.
Yeah, exactly. But like, so like, temperature, like engagement temperature. And so we're kind of testing out different things right now, but yeah, that's going to be out there too. And so the whole point is like, you've got these people opening your emails. Okay, great. And you've got people who then reply to your emails, maybe they're leads. And, obviously some people are going to say no, maybe not so nicely, but there might be people who don't respond, but they open your email like 5 times, or they're on there 5, 6 minutes, or like, they forward it off and what have you. So, um,
And all
so
that data, it that segues into creating much better content as you start to see what that temperature, how that temperature improves, and then you've got a framework because now you can take that and every quarter or once a year you can apply that same similar messaging and narrative to to a new campaign because you've been watching what produces red versus what produces green. That's actually really brilliant. When does that come out?
yeah, um, sometime in Q2.
Okay,
Yeah,
come on.
it's like I've been playing with it for the last few weeks. It's pretty good. Um, so yeah, it's like what it will do is essentially identify maybe 10 to 15%, depends on like your results, but like
Mhm.
more leads that you've got that you probably don't know because you don't know that information. So
Gotcha.
um,
Well,
yeah,
I have a question. You've been amazing at helping us with understanding how to send emails to customers and prospecting and potential customers. And I hope folks that are listening, are taking notes because there's a lot of really good content. Um, but something that I've always admired you for is growth hacking. It's the way that you've grown your companies. You've helped with everything that you've been doing. It's just been something that us entrepreneurs have looked up to. We followed in your footsteps in many ways, and I've always admired just watching win awards, and hey, I was featured in Entrepreneur, and now I'm writing for Entrepreneur. And um, with that in mind, what really goes into like a growth hacker strategy. How can we be like Sujan, right?
yeah. I think it's the focus on taking action, right?
I'm glad you didn't say I
Front.
drink a lot of Red Bull or Monster because that would have
Yeah.
gone
No,
totally.
no, it's no, your intestines will just get like ulcers
Yeah,
if you do too much of that.
thanks.
But yeah, I think it's just taking action, right?
Okay.
Not being afraid to kind of fail, and also swimming outside of your lane. So
Mm,
let's just say you're an SEO. Well, look, there is more than SEO in marketing, and there is more than marketing in to generate revenue, and there is more than generating new revenue in growing a business, right? So like put it in perspective, maybe there's an SEO, there's PPC, there's outbound set, there's other marketing channels. In marketing, there may be more than just new revenue. There might be like um, there might be sales, there might be like customer success. If you're generating revenue, new revenue, if you're doing marketing and sales, what about reducing churn, retention, expansion revenue? Selling more to your existing customers and whatnot. Um, and so like just think outside the bubble.
mm,
And I've kind of I start off as an SEO, and I was like, look, over time, first of all, SEO has kind of turned into like building a being a great marketer.
right.
But I think I realized that actually, why do I have to limit myself? And it was a self limitation. I was like, wait, I'm a marketer, but doesn't mean I have to only grow my business
Mhm.
with marketing strategy, like with marketing tactics. So I think just thinking outside the box, and then um, I always like to test things out. So I have the 80/20 rule. Like I'm always testing. 20% of my efforts is always testing crazy, stupid ideas. Like it's literally throwing stuff at the wall, except for they're calculated things on the wall. So what I typically do is I'll write my crazy ideas out throughout the week. I have a little spreadsheet. I use kind of the ICE framework.
I remember.
Um, and so it's like the impact, it's really measuring the impact, the amount of time it's going to take, and like what it is.
Okay.
And so,
And you do that every week, or
well, so I put into this document ideas all the time. The whole team, everybody at the company does, and we don't. That's just so everybody can contribute to the ideas, and then every week or every month, depends on kind of how much bandwidth we have or how big the idea is.
Sure.
We'll go actually take a look at this and say, okay, what should we test, right?
Hmm.
And some might be like, oh, like we got to go use this, like test this software, or like some might be like change the link here because like we should push a webinar versus a demo, and that would be better, right? Like small, big, or like some might be like redesign the product. Okay, that's a
Right.
lot. It's a big one, right? So like, but it will float the bigger ideas to the top, and so we just try to knock out things that we don't normally do, and we try to measure the impact it will have, or like try to predict the impact it will have. And it's just more of like, oh, like this will help do blah, right? And and again, like once you write that out, I like to ideate all the time,
Okay.
right? Because you get the best ideas in the shower or whatever, right? Like
Yep.
you don't get your ideas, and that's a different part of your mind that's functioning than when you're actually saying, sorting through your ideas and say, which one should I do? So um, again, like 20% is where I kind of maybe even 25%, but no more than that.
Okay.
And I literally just I just throw that out there, and that way I've always got something randomly new, different that I'm testing out. That's not the normal.
So you're not resting on your laurels. You're not getting complacent. You're constantly trying to think differently and try different angles. So that's that's what I'm hearing for those folks that are thinking about, hey, I really want to growth hack my way into being successful. It starts with ideas. It starts with saying what that idea is supposed to do, and it starts with having a mechanism to record those ideas so that when you are in the shower or somewhere else, that you have somewhere that you can record those. Because you're right, I think I lose probably 90% of my ideas because I don't write them down. I think about it, and then 3 seconds later I'm on to something else.
Yeah.
It's
And
smart.
also just making time in the process for it, right? Like if you just went with all your crazy ideas, you would probably be doing a lot of bad marketing.
Yeah.
But if you made time for a place to do them, a little safe place, a
So
bubble where like,
good.
okay,
Huh?
I'm gonna just do the one. Like I got all these ideas, I gotta just do one, right? And it just kind of forces you out of your bubble. And also like I like to use this as a collaborative effort with my whole company. Like
Okay.
everybody that got access to this document, and they just put everything in a place.
That's
And
rad.
not they're not all good ideas. Don't get me wrong. Mine are horrible when I think about it like a week later. I'm like, oh, that's stupid. I should probably like, but that's okay. I went through a
But you
successful
did
brainstorm.
something. Yeah, you did
Yeah.
something. Yeah,
Yep.
that's amazing.
Exactly.
Well, I know we had a ton of other questions, but we might have to just do another podcast at some point. I definitely want to get to some of my lightning round questions.
Let's do it.
We talked about growth hacking. We talked about sending emails and how to communicate and writing great headlines and first sentences. We talked about getting to know who your audience is and the right part of that audience. Um, this is our lightning round. Number one is where can other folks who want to learn about how to communicate and email potential leads, where can they go to learn more to get I mean, there's so many, like you said, there's HubSpot, there's LinkedIn Learning Academy. If I go one place, what would that one place be?
Um, so many places. I think Ethan Shaw has this blog, great newsletter.
Okay.
I would just subscribe to his newsletter if you want to
Ethan
learn
Shaw.
more.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
I think it's Heathenism, HITENISM.com.
Okay.
And yeah, subscribe to his newsletter as a weekly newsletter that's like growth related articles, sales, marketing, product, business, kind of a little bit of everything. And follow the links. So
Okay.
I just, I follow the links. I use a Pocket, an app to read new content.
Okay.
I find content
On
all the
Feedly.
time. You're on Feedly. Okay, yeah. I find content all the time. I just bookmark it, add it to read my later, and I read it later. And
Okay.
in fact, I actually hate reading, so I listen to a lot of content. So it actually reads to me.
That's awesome. I don't think everybody
Spares
does
my
that.
eyes.
That's
Yeah.
awesome. Who do we follow on social media aside from you, of course?
Um, let's see. I would look at. I like to follow the brands. I think if
Okay.
you're looking for marketing, I think follow like HubSpot. Um, follow, like I think like I like to follow the links of my content,
Okay.
and anyone I find that I like their content, I always engage with them online, right? So I think these days companies are doing a great job. I mean, look at like follow Mailshake. You'll find all the links because we kind of share all this stuff. Um, I would look at them based off of your audience. If you're like B2B, follow them on LinkedIn. If you want to hear their random unfiltered thoughts, by Twitter. If you're in the B2C space, follow them on Facebook and see what they're
LinkedIn
doing.
on B2B. Yeah.
Yeah, because every channel is different based off what you're trying to do.
Yeah.
Um, to be honest, these days I'm usually more heads down, and I try to connect with smart folks once a week. So I don't really
Are you
follow
using
people.
the Clubhouse?
I've done a couple of clubhouses,
Okay.
event. I don't know what they call events. I don't know, hangouts, whatever. Pretty decent turnout. Um, I think I'm pretty hesitant to go all in on a new platform
Mhm.
because I think if you look at what's happening now, it's going to be turned into a feature
Mhm.
on all the major social networks. So
Yeah.
I will be definitely clubhousing it up when LinkedIn releases their version of it. Um, because it's a platform that we invest in. So I know Twitter has their own, like, I think it's Spaces. I don't know what it's called these days, to be honest.
What do you
Um,
mean? You mean Google Plus didn't work for you? I mean,
no, I'm more of a Google Buzz kind of guy.
there you go. Google Wave, right?
Wave, there you go. Yeah.
Remember that one? So,
There, Wave is coming back, by the way. Wave
is
is
it
coming
really
back.
good?
Well,
Because
not
I like some of the features, and I love the translation and the communications. That was awesome.
they're trying to build a Teams competitor, Slack competitor
Okay.
with
So
the Google Cloud.
aside from your tools, because you've got some pretty amazing programs, what are some of your favorite digital marketing platforms out there?
I mean, I think from an SEO perspective, I use Ahrefs and
Okay.
SEMrush every day. I
Yeah.
mean, not so much every day, but that's my go-to tools when I look
Man,
at a
why can't one
competitor.
or
When
the
I'm,
other blend the features so we don't have to use both? It's driving me crazy. I
I
can't do a
know
link intersect on
I can't
SEMrush
do. Yeah,
or on link mentions well on SEMrush.
yeah, it's. I'll gladly pay for both because they help me leverage my
Why can't
time.
I export my unlinked mentions on Ahrefs? After 5 years of
um,
thinking about it. What else?
I'm on. I do mostly spreadsheet work, to be
Okay.
honest. Meaning like I've created like my like crazy ideas doc, right? And so I'm looking at the ICE framework. I use the ICE framework to help me kind of organize that. Um,
We're living in smart sheets right now, and we're using it as task management. And we're creating portals and roll ups and stuff, and it's a lot more
nice.
complicated than I originally expected it to be. I thought it was just like an Excel on steroids, but there's a lot more to that platform, formulas and other things that you can do that you can't do in Excel. But
Nice.
yeah, I bet we could probably do something very similar to that I structure that you're talking about within smart sheets.
Yeah, absolutely. And the last one I'd say I use a lot of tools for my day to day, like Jira. I'm in Trello for our content and whatnot. But the tool I think that's maybe relevant to marketing. Oh crap! It like literally I spaced on it. So Evernote for my personal note
Yep,
taking.
same here.
Um, Pocket. I make a lot of Loom videos, or um, Loom is just one app. I use Go Vidyard sometimes, but really I use video to share important updates or things with the team, so that we can have asynchronous communication
Because
and they
somehow
can get the breath.
emails do not come off the way I sent a loom yesterday at one of our partners that does digital like web design stuff for one of our clients, and the client had some dissatisfaction during a call about one little element. Rather than send an email that might turn into a flame, I just sent a video and I showed compassion and empathy and understanding, and the feedback from that was so much more positive than it would have been if I would have just written out a text email. So you nailed it with how important I think Loom and that type of communicating can be. I mean, the folks and
Absolutely.
international folks are using WhatsApp, for doing those types of communications as opposed to using text because your tone, your voice, the emotion and so forth has such a difference in how you communicate.
Nice. Yeah, I think it's like it's also good like for us we do a lot of like when we hire new folks or when we're onboarding or like interviewing, send me a Loom video. Like, give me the breadth of the information. So we've got a whole like library of like, here's our core values, right? Now let's have a conversation about it whenever you're ready. Like, you watch this whenever the heck you want to watch this. We'll go talk about it. And if you see my Loom video on my or core values,
Uh-huh.
like you'll see me fired up. You'll see us like, I'll get really animated. I'll talk about why these are important, blah blah blah.
Right.
I could say that for every new hire, but that'd just be a lot of time everyone has to spend to have the same conversation.
Over
And
and over
frankly,
again. Yeah.
um, with now being full, we've been remote for since day one, but now that our companies are remote, like, think about doing things that can leverage your time the best, right? Um, and so that's kind of what we do. Um, and we also have a lot of the last thing is workflow automations. So we use Slack, but if you use Teams or whatever you use, there
We're on
are
Slack.
automate like shortcuts. So we use like Slack shortcuts for um,
Google Drive for
Go-
doing
a
integration with
bunch of
Jira.
things.
Yep.
Exactly. So
Uh-huh.
like so the biggest thing we do for our software companies are we've got like we've got this feedback culture,
Okay.
but we like try to get feedback from the customer directly.
Hmm.
And we want the best people who have that feedback are customer support, success, and sales. They are talking to customer marketing people. They're talking to customers all the time.
Yeah.
Um, I talk to customers every once in a while, but I do like the good stuff, like case studies, or the really bad ones where like it gets escalated to me, right?
Right.
So my view of like, or somebody I always get like nice messages like, oh, I love your software, it's great, blah blah blah. Like, so I have a very skewed vision of our software. It's people like it a lot enough to do case studies, text me, and then sometimes they really are frustrated, and there might be a billing issue, whatever, right?
Right.
But reality is our support and sales teams have a very different view of it. So we want that feedback. So we've set up these workflows inside of Slack to
Hmm.
then for them to like say quickly, like, here, copy and paste this. Here's a video. Here's a feedback. And so what it's done is shorten the cycles of the feedback loop, right?
And they get
And
addressed
it's
that way too, because it's workflow. It has to have an ending at some point. It doesn't just go off into oblivion forever. Yeah.
exactly. And so I think that has helped us take action on it, and it's like this repeated process after about like 3 6 months, meaning people give the feedback and we actually implement it because you got to dev it, you got to do the work for it.
Right.
People are like, oh wow, you took my idea, and we thank the person who came up with the idea and the customer who came up with the idea.
Yep.
And it's like this like gratitude circle of gratitude. It makes them want to do more, right? And it gets the customer like, oh, like, you actually listened to me.
They
And
get
like
that
we
validation. That's
send
so
the
important. Yeah.
well, sometimes we even share the screenshot, like, hey, like, here's a screenshot of the conversation, like, you helped drive this feature, thank you, right?
So yeah, giving credit to the person who brought it up. That's like social proof, but it also helps with that brand loyalty thing we talked about earlier, because now they feel personally important and loved. I love that. Hey, our lightning round went to like a thunder round or something. I only had
Yeah.
one other question in it, and that is where people can find you if they wanted to um, chat with you about the software, if they had questions about the podcast. What's the best way for them to reach you?
Yeah, best place is my personal blog, sujanpatel.com.
Okay.
I pretty much share everything I know, and I try stuff the hard way. Like, when I say I throw stuff at the wall, I mean like every one of my teams at all of our companies are doing this. So like, I've got 5 companies. We're all testing stuff. So like, we just learn really, really quickly, and generally the stuff that works gets published on my blog. But yeah, and follow the links. Ping me. I'm usually around. If you want to hear me blab about kids and life and marketing, it's on Twitter.
And
Um,
cars, and
and
amazing
car.
freaking cars.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
thanks. Yeah.
Very cool. Well, thank you again for being on the show today. I know we got so much out of this, and I know my head's spinning, and I'm sure you do that to everyone after spending
Thank
a
you.
few minutes with them. They're like, "Oh my God, there's so much that I need to learn about email and sending emails and communicating and business startup and 5 freaking businesses. That's amazing. You should be like totally proud of that. That's
Thank
something
you.
so admirable. But so great. Well, we'll wrap this one up, and everyone, will see you on the next show. And Susan, thanks for taking the time to hang out with us today.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I had a blast.